Poor MOM at checkout. Millionaire CEO reveals devastating truth at midnight. The clock struck midnight, a haunting chime echoing through the dimly lit supermarket. A weary mother stood at the checkout, her cart filled with wilted greens and a few cans of soup, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Just as she fumbled for some loose change, a sharp gasp rippled through the line behind her. The doors swung open, and in strode Victor Hale, the billionaire CEO known for his ruthless business deals and velvet charm. Dressed in a tailored suit that seemed to shimmer under the fluorescent lights, his eyes glinted with a brilliance that made every head turn. As the shocked murmurs buzzed, Victor's gaze fixed on the mother. Something magnetic hung in the air, an unnameable tension crackling like electricity. People shifted, uncertain whether to admire the extraordinary spectacle or to scorn the boldness of a millionaire disturbing their nightly routine. But what no one anticipated was the truth he was about to reveal. Why are you struggling? Victor's voice, deep and melodious, sliced through the murmurings like a knife. The mother blinked, confused, her heart racing. She'd heard of him, the man who could buy anything and anyone. Yet here he was standing in front of her, demanding an answer not just for her but for everyone present. How could he care? Why would he care? A chill raced down her spine. This wasn't just about groceries. It was about the unwritten desperation that cloaked her life, a vulnerability she never intended for him to see. Her voice trembled as she stuttered, "I am just trying to make ends meet." The pity in his eyes felt heavy, almost suffocating. But could it be real, or just an act? Suddenly, a loud crash. A display of cereal boxes toppled over as a teenage boy, stunned by this unfolding drama, knocked into it. Gasps echoed, and the air thickened with a mix of shock and adrenaline. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that moment, Victor Hale's expression turned serious. "Listen, I know what it's like to struggle," he said, his voice barely above a whisper now, as if revealing a secret. The air felt thick again, every ear straining to catch what would come next. "What if I told you I have a way out?" Collective breath held. Could this be the miracle she had been waiting for? Or a cruel joke played by fate in the form of a wealthy man? The silence was deafening as the crowd leaned forward, caught in the gravitational pull of his claim. And there it was, a glint of possibility in the millionaire's eye, an invitation to something far beyond the grocery store. But as he reached into his pocket, a shadow crossed his face. What came next was a truth that would shatter everything she thought she knew. The tension was palpable. Victor's hand, still hidden in his pocket, hesitated as if weighing the gravity of the moment. The crowd held its breath. People shifted uneasily. The teenage boy, still stunned from his collision, had momentarily forgotten his phone, forgotten the world around him. As the drama unfolded, everyone was caught in a web of anticipation, the air crackling with possibilities and unspoken fears. People don't just care about money. It's about survival, Victor said, his voice rising. "I didn't start with a silver spoon. I know hardship and I want to help." A flicker of hope danced in the mother's eyes. Was this real, or just a grand manipulation? She couldn't process it, her fists clenched tightly around her shopping basket. Was it foolish to dream? Help? With what? Money? A job? What do you mean? Her voice cracked, betraying her desperation. "You have to listen to me," Victor urged, taking a step closer. "I'm not asking for much, just a chance to show you a different path." A voice from the back interrupted, filled with skepticism. "And what's the catch, Hale? Nothing comes for free." The crowd's unease grew. Faces exchanged furtive glances, each person weighing the risks of trusting the powerful stranger. Victor turned, his gaze piercing the darkness within the crowd. "The catch is that you have to believe in yourself. You think money solves everything, but what good is it if you don't know how to use it? A knot twisted in the mother's stomach. The raw truth lodged like a stone in her throat. What if I can change your life? But first, I need to reveal my truth. Victor's eyes softened as they searched hers, almost pleading. Your truth? The words hung in the air, heavy like the weight of a promise laced with uncertainty. Victor took another deep breath, eyes scanning the crowd as if he was about to drop a bombshell. I'm looking for my family, he said, the confession echoing in the stunned silence. I lost them years ago, and I've been searching ever since, but I can't do it alone. Stunned gasps erupted. The disbelief morphed into intrigue. Victor raised his hand to quell the rising sound. I have connections, resources. You think you're alone in your fight? I can't change the past, but together we can rewrite the future. The mother's heart raced. This man was raw, vulnerable, the image of a ruthless CEO now shattered. Was this his tactic, or was he genuinely seeking redemption? The delicate threads of fate intertwined, blurring the lines between hope and manipulation. More startled whispers grew amongst the crowd, a yearning for connection, shared struggles, unexpected kinship. The woman felt herself wavering. Could she trust him? Suddenly, a loud crash pierced the moment. Another display toppled, sending a cascade of items rolling towards the ground. A dozen heads turned, but not Victor's. He remained focused on her as emotions churned within. She glimpsed a lottery ticket nestled in the shattered pieces of cereal. A long shot. But wasn't life a gamble? What if this was a turning point? I need time, she finally managed, her breath shaky but resolute. Victor nodded slowly, understanding flashing in his eyes, but his expression shifted. Time is one thing we may not have. His voice trailed off, as if a storm loomed on the horizon. What lay ahead was uncertain, and darkness wasn't done enveloping the night. In that very moment, a siren shrieked in the distance, blending with a growing sense of dread. What's happening? She gasped. That's just the beginning, Victor replied, his voice barely discernible. This story runs deeper than we imagined, and with those words, reality began unraveling around them. What dark twist awaited next? Would they face it together, or was this only the calm before the storm? The siren's wail grew louder, screaming through the tension like a beast hungry for chaos. People began to scatter, their feet pounding against the pavement, as confusion swept through the crowd. The once eager faces twisted into masks of panic. The mother stood frozen, her thoughts racing. Victor, she shouted, desperate to break through the rising tide of fear. What's going on? He didn't answer right away, his eyes scanning the chaotic scene, as if he sensed something they couldn't quite see yet. We need to move, he finally urged, grabbing her elbow. There's a reason why I'm here tonight, and it's not just to talk. The energy shifted, becoming electric. She could feel it prickling against her skin, a prelude to something monumental. As Victor led her through the dispersing crowd, she caught sight of the teenage boy again, still standing in shock, holding his phone like it was a lifeline. Are you coming? She yelled, motioning for him to follow. He hesitated, caught in a moment of disbelief, but glance after glance from Victor pushed him into action. What do you mean it's not just to talk? The boy asked, struggling to keep pace. People like me know things, Victor began, his voice laced with urgency. Tonight is different and the stakes are high. We're all connected in ways we can't even imagine. They darted around the remnants of the fallen display, plastic toys and colorful cereal pieces littering the ground, a stark reminder of the instability surrounding them. The mother's heart thundered, fear mixed with curiosity. Victor led them behind a corner, into a shadowy alley where the siren's wailing was muffled, but the adrenaline still coursed. I know what some of you suffer, he breathed out, urgency making every word feel like an impending revelation. I've been on the wrong side of this fight too. The boy shifted nervously, pulling at his shirt. And how do we know you're not just playing us? This could all be a game to you. A flicker of anger washed over Victor's face, but it was quickly replaced by an understanding. You think I don't know how it feels to be questioned? He rubbed his brow, and for a moment, They glimpsed the weight of his past. I've been searching for my family, for closure to understand why everything fell apart. I want to help you find your own peace, your own strength. The mother felt a shift within her. His words were raw, real, and she caught a glimpse of the man behind the CEO facade. But the tension still hung like thick fog around them. What do you need from us? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I need people who want to take risks, he replied, looking at both of them intently. There's a secret society in this city, and with it, the answers to so many questions. But we can't do it alone. A shiver ran down her spine. Secrets? Societies? It felt too surreal, too dangerous, but something about Victor ignited a fire. Amidst the desperation, hope flickered at the edges, teasing her forward. What kind of risks are we talking about? The boy asked, his initial doubts softened by intrigue. Victor stepped closer, his eyes fierce. The kind of risks that could reclaim your lives. He paused. Tonight it begins. But we have to act fast. There is still time, but the piercing sirens sliced through the air once more, echoing off the alley walls like a warning bell. What do you mean, time? She pressed, now desperately seeking clarity amidst the chaos. Someone knows we're here. Someone who wants to keep the truth buried. Victor said, urgency spilling from his lips. And if we don't move now, it'll be too late. The air thickened with tension. They could either step into the unknown, or retreat back into their familiar worlds of struggle. It was a heart-pounding moment, pulsing with possibilities. Are we really going to do this? The boy breathed, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. The mother inhaled sharply, her heartbeat thudding louder with every passing second. I'm scared, she admitted, finding strength in vulnerability. What if we fail? Then we try again, Victor replied, determination lighting his face. We can't let fear hold us back. In a heartbeat, a decision loomed. They had a choice: retreat into the safety of the familiar or plunge into a night filled with secrets and danger. As they exchanged nervous glances, the shadows deepened around them. We'll follow you, she said finally, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. Let us go, Victor urged, a fierce smile breaking across his face. And just as they stepped into the dark of the alley, they heard footsteps approaching. The storm was about to break. Who or what was coming for them? The unknown loomed dangerously close. The shadows flickered and twisted in the dim light of the alley, the sound of approaching footsteps slicing through the charged air like a shard of glass. They paused, hearts racing in unison, eyes wide and expectant. Victor held up a hand, signaling them to silence. The tension thickened. He was no longer just a man leaning against a wall, but a leader ready to fight against the encroaching darkness. Stay close to me, he whispered, his voice urgent and low. We can't be seen. The footsteps grew nearer, heavy and deliberate like a heartbeat counting down to disaster. Each step echoed in the confined space, winding around the corners and reaching into their chests. The mother felt raw fear pooling in her stomach as the shadows shifted, revealing a tall figure cloaked in darkness. Who's there? Victor called out, his voice steady despite the rising tremor in the air. There was a brief moment of silence, as if the alley held its breath alongside them. Waiting. A laugh, the kind that sent chills racing down her spine, pierced the quiet atmosphere. You think you can hide, Victor? You've always been a clever one, but not clever enough. The figure stepped into a flickering light, revealing a woman with sharp features and piercing eyes that gleamed with menace. Cassandra, Victor spat, his face tightening. What do you want? The mother felt the weight of the moment. It was more than just Victor's confrontation. This was personal. A duel, not just of bodies but of wills, of histories, thick with betrayal and the scars of the past. I'm here to put an end to your little game, Cassandra replied, her voice smooth, almost seductive in its cruelty. You've stirred up too much interest, and interest can lead to complications. I can't have you exposing what shouldn't see the light of day. Is that a threat? Victor stepped forward, his resolve burning bright. The boy flanked Victor, his face a mixture of confusion and awe, while the mother fought to understand what exactly was at stake. Call it what you want. But you know I don't play nice. She smirked, eyes narrowing. You've gathered quite the audience, haven't you? family issues, secrets, and now innocent bystanders. She glanced at them, and fear clawed at the edges of the mother's mind. You should leave while you still can. Not a chance, Victor shot back, the underlying heat of his anger palpable. It's too late for that. With a snap of her fingers, the air shifted, the dim alley trembled as figures emerged from the shadows. More of Cassandra's followers, faces obscured by hoods, moved silently, encircling them. The mother's instincts screamed at her to run, to flee from this tangled web of deceit. But her feet felt glued to the ground, paralyzed by fear. What do you want from us? The boy spat, bravado masking his uncertainty. Cassandra laughed, a cold and haunting sound. It's not about what I want. It's about what Victor fears. Tonight's not just a midnight meeting. It's the unveiling of everything that binds us to an unseen war. Secrets burrow deep, and I intend to keep it that way. She leaned closer. Choose wisely, or I may let you see just how ugly the truth can be. The mother searched Victor's eyes, feeling the pressure of his brow, his breathing, the clipped edges of his composure. She felt a surge within her, an urge to embrace the fight. This wasn't just about surviving the night anymore. This was about choosing to step into the light or be swallowed by the dark. And as Victor's jaw clenched, she wondered, what would stepping into the light mean for all of them? What was this society that Victor spoke of, and what ties did he have to Cassandra? The air crackled as the reality of their choices unfurled before them. Let us get out of here, Victor shouted suddenly, breaking the hold of silence around them. Adrenaline surged through them as he turned, dragging the mother and the boy with him. But they were too late. The circle began to tighten and the hoods moved with swift precision, leaving them little room for escape. Run. Now, Victor commanded, his voice echoing in the tight alley. As they sprinted to the other end, the confrontation quickly morphed into chaos. The dull thud of footsteps hammered behind them, and the lights from the street glimmered like twisted promises of safety. But the walls of the alley loomed high, and the exit felt impossibly far. As they raced, a chilling thought struck the mother. Were they running toward freedom, or deeper into the trap set by shadows? And somewhere in the darkness, Cassandra's voice called after them. You can't escape the truth. But the truth of what? With danger snapping at their heels, the night was only just beginning. What waited for them in the shadows? And would they survive long enough to confront it? The alley seemed to stretch on forever, each step heavier than the last. The mother's heart pounded in her chest, matching the frantic rhythm of their flight. They dodged bins and crates, the foul smell of trash tainting the air around them. She glanced over her shoulder, dread pooling in her stomach as the figures in hoods swarmed closer, their movements fluid and menacing. Take a left, Victor shouted, his voice grating against the hard reality of their situation. They turned sharply, desperation fueling their flight. Hope flickered and dimmed like the streetlights above, shadows stretching and warping into ominous figures. The boy, still buoyed by adrenaline, pushed past them, leading the way. Maybe we should divide and know, Victor snapped, cutting him off. Sticking together is our only chance. His voice held a raw edge, an urgency born from instinct. The mother felt the weight of every second that passed. They were seconds away from being encircled, seconds that could mean the difference between life and a fate worse than death. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were not just fleeing Cassandra but also a truth that had begun leaking into the night. Ahead, the alley opened slightly, revealing a crossroads. Dim light spilled from a far-off diner, neon flickering like a beacon. There, we have to get there, she urged, her voice barely audible over the sound of their heavy breathing. As they sprinted, something shifted in the shadows. Cassandra's followers hesitated, exchanging glances, blocking their escape. The atmosphere felt charged, as though the world held its breath, waiting. But Victor wouldn't stop. He surged forward, pulling the mother and the boy with him. Together they barreled toward the diner. Keep going. Don't look back, Victor shouted, desperation hardening his voice. Just as they rounded the corner, the sharp crack of a gunshot thundered through the air, shattering the chaos like glass. The mother's heart seized, terror clawing at her throat. She froze, and Victor yanked at her arm, urging her to move again. "Mom, we need to go." The boy's voice broke through her paralysis, propelling her forward once more. They ducked into the diner, the dingy warmth of the space enveloping them. A few heads turned, eyes wide, startled by the sudden intrusion. "What the hell is going on?" the waitress called out, wiping her hands on her apron, her expression a mix of confusion and concern. Victor scanned their surroundings, the terror in his eyes turning to a focused intensity. "Lock the door," he yelled, the urgency slicing through the low murmurs of the diner. The mother's hands trembled as she bolted it shut, an old rusted lock that seemed to mock them with its fragility. Panic gnawed at her insides. It felt almost absurd that they were hiding in a diner while danger loomed outside like a dark cloud. "Sit down," Victor commanded, taking stock of their surroundings. "Stay out of sight." They huddled in a corner booth, the cracked vinyl sticking to them in the humid air. The mother's instinct screamed at her to listen to Cassandra's voice echoing in her mind. "You can't escape the truth." What truth? What did Victor fear? Time slowed as they sat in silence, breaths coming in sharp gasps. Every tick of the clock felt like a countdown, and the murmur of the diner faded into the background. The waitress served coffee to a couple, her demeanor barely hiding the worry as concerned glances were exchanged. "They can't know we're here, right?" the boy whispered, the innocence in his voice clashing with the grim reality. "I won't let them hurt you," Victor replied fiercely, yet the defiance in his words was tempered by uncertainty. The mother reached for the boy's hand, squeezing tightly. Suddenly, the diner door burst open, a gust of cold night air chilling them to the bone. Cassandra stepped inside, flanked by her followers, their hoods casting ominous shadows against the neon light. "Looking for something?" Cassandra's voice cut through the tension, smooth and taunting. The mother's heart lurched. There was no escaping now. They had retreated, only to face their nemesis head-on. In a room full of witnesses, could they all still walk out alive? "Victor, it's time to face the truth," Cassandra taunted, the words hanging in the air like a heavy weight. And in that moment, the mother felt every secret ripple through her, an undercurrent of futility washing over her. The truth loomed not just in the alley but within their tangled lives. What did it all mean? Would uncovering the truth save them or lead to their undoing? And as they braced themselves against the tide of darkness that threatened to swallow them whole, they were left wondering, who would fall first, and at what cost? The air inside the diner thickened with tension, like a storm about to break. Cassandra strode forward, her followers fanning out behind her, casting long shadows across the worn linoleum floor. The waitress backed away slowly, filling the space with an anxious hush. Patrons sat frozen, hearts racing, their coffee cups forgotten in front of them. "Did you really think you could escape?" Cassandra purred, her lips curling into a sly smile. "Hiding in a diner? How quaint." Victor's jaw tightened, a fierce resolve igniting in his eyes. "We're not afraid of you, Cassandra." The words felt brittle like dried leaves, but there was defiance buried within. The mother felt her heart jump at the newfound courage. Yet dread coiled around her lungs. What was Cassandra really after? What truth could bind their fates together so tightly? "What's it going to be, Victor?" Cassandra said, her voice low and melodious, each syllable a seductive threat. "You can either join me, or carry the weight of your secrets alone." She paused, allowing silence to stretch unbearably. The flickering neon light outside flickered through the diner's windows, illuminating the fear etched on everyone's faces. The boy squeezed his mother's hand, and she could feel tiny tremors pulsing through him. "You think you can scare us?" Victor stepped forward, defiance lending strength to his posture. "We know you're weak. This charade ends tonight." Cassandra chuckled, a sound that sent chills down the mother's spine. "Weakness? You have no idea. Secrets fester in the dark. Victor, would you like me to bring them into the light?" The weight of her words crashed over them, a wave pulling them under. The mother glanced around, sensing the disbelief and apprehension among the diner's patrons. Some had turned back to their meals, but the unease clung like a fog, whispering that something was very wrong. "Mom." The boy's voice trembled, drawing her attention back. "What does she mean?" Before she could respond, there was a loud crash behind the counter. The waitress had dropped a stack of plates, her wide eyes reflecting pure terror. The diner erupted into nervous chatter, patrons abruptly standing, chairs scraping against the floor. "Just stay down," Victor hissed, trying to shield the boy with his body, but the atmosphere shifted palpably. Cassandra's followers were closing the distance like vultures circling a wounded animal. "Nothing you do will change what's coming," Cassandra taunted, her gaze locked onto Victor. "You can hold onto your pride, but it won't save you. The truth is, there's a rot eating at your family, and it's time it came out." At that moment, the mother felt the electric current of realization hit her. She went cold, as though a door had swung open inside her mind. The secrets, the ones she had buried, tried to forget, rose like bile in her throat. "Victor, she's lying." The instinct to protect him surged forward, like a magnet drawing her closer. "She doesn't know us, doesn't she?" Cassandra's lips twisted into a smirk. "You're all caught in a web of lies, and it's only a matter of time before someone pays the price." The boy gasped, panic seeping into his wide eyes. "Mom, what's going on?" As the tension boiled over, Cassandra moved closer, a predator stalking her prey. She reached into her pocket and pulled out an object, glinting under the diner lights, an envelope. "Maybe this holds the key to what your family has been hiding." Victor stepped forward, preparing to grab it, but before he could, Cassandra tossed it across the table as if she had thrown a grenade. It skidded to a halt at the mother's feet. "Open it," she ordered, a challenge dripping from her lips. "Face your past and decide how far you're willing to go to protect what you love." The envelope felt heavy, more than just paper. Its presence echoed the quiet between them, a moment poised on the precipice of revelation. The diner's air thickened with uncertainty, midnight secrets lurking just beneath the surface. "Do it," Cassandra commanded, her voice a crescendo swelling within the diner walls. And as the mother knelt, heart pounding, she realized the truth might just shatter everything she thought she knew. What lay inside that envelope could hide salvation or annihilation? Would she pry open the lid on the past, or would they be consumed by the darkness waiting just outside the door? The envelope felt like a weight pressing against her resolve, its edges sharp and unyielding, as she hesitated on the cusp of revelation. Glancing at Victor and then at the boy, the fear materialized into a tangible force, tightening her chest. What if Cassandra was right? What terrible truth did this piece of paper encase? "Mom, please," the boy whispered, eyes wide with confusion and fear, like a deer caught in headlights. Victor's voice trembled but held firm. "You don't have to do this. We can silence." Cassandra's command sliced through the air, leaving a palpable chill in the diner. Her followers flanked her, their expressions a mix of smugness and anticipation, reveling in the chaos. It was a game to them, a twisted theater where secrets would bleed onto the stage. The waitress, still trembling, leaned against the counter, her face pale. A couple in the corner exchanged alarmed glances, but the rest were paralyzed, sipping their coffee as if it would shield them from the unfolding nightmare. Taking a deep breath, the mother reached down to the envelope, her fingers brushing the surface. It felt like a pulse, alive and electric. Time stretched, pulling her away from the present. "What lies within," Cassandra murmured with a slithering smile, "is a revelation. And, my dear, it is only the beginning." The steady beat of her heart pumped louder in her ears as she slowly opened the flap. A single sheet of paper slipped out, its contents hidden until she exposed it under the harsh diner lights. She couldn't bear to look, but instinct grabbed her, compelling her to confront whatever torment awaited her. With shaking hands, she unfolded it, revealing the stark words printed upon it. It was a letter, stained at the edges, words jagged and written in a hand she recognized, a hand from the past she thought she had severed all ties with. Victor's voice cut through the rising tide of panic. What is it? What's it say? The mother's breath hitched. The words blurred before her eyes, and she gasped, stumbling back as the implications crashed over her like a deluge. It spoke of betrayal, of lies that threaded through the very fabric of their family. Cassandra leaned closer, eyes glinting with dark satisfaction. Read it out loud. The world deserves to know. No, the mother's voice came out as a strangled whisper. This can't be happening. What? The boy pleaded, uncertainty pouring from him like an open faucet. What does it say? Mom, Victor urged, desperation etched into his features. You're scaring him. Just tell us. The room spun, her heart racing as the damning truth clawed its way to the surface. I can't, she panted, feeling like a bird caught in a snare. Cassandra swayed closer, a predator relishing the fear in her prey. Everything is connected, you know. Secrets, after all, cannot remain buried forever. They'll claw their way out, and when they do, they'll drag you all with them. She felt the weight of every eye upon her, the dread, the curiosity, the judgment. A part of her wanted to tear the letter to shreds and fling it back at the woman who had orchestrated this debacle. But the reality loomed. This was her chance to either shield them from devastation or let the tide take them under. Mom, please, the boy sobbed, clutching Victor's arm. The urging desperation shot through her, that protective instinct once more rising to the forefront. What are you going to do? Cassandra asked, a chilling sweetness lacing her words. Will you share your burdens? Or will you keep them locked within and watch as your family crumbles? The weight of her choices pressed down hard, and in that moment, she realized. This was more than just an envelope. This was a fork in the road, a choice that would ripple through their lives forever. As she stood there, grappling with the abyss before her, the muffled sound of sirens echoed in the distance. Would help arrive in time? Or was it merely the ominous approach of her past resurrecting? Would she reveal the truth that could either set them free or ensnare them in a darker fate? The air crackled with tension, and she was left grappling with one burning question: how deep does the betrayal run? The sirens grew closer, piercing the tense atmosphere, distorting the reality of the moment. The diners seemed frozen, their coffee cups suspended midair, mouths set in shocked "oh" shapes. It wasn't just a revelation on the line. It felt like a reckoning, a calculated disaster unfolding in slow motion. Just read it, Cassandra insisted, a predatory edge to her voice. The wild glee in her eyes mirrored the chaos surrounding them. Let us partake in your shame. The mother stood rooted to the spot, the envelope trembling in her fingers. The words on the page began to coalesce, shapes taking form, but the meaning remained murky. Could she even afford to voice it? Would saying it out loud summon the ghosts of her past? With a breath stuttered by anxiety, she fought against the tidal wave of dread closing in around her. I can't. Not here. Not now, she finally answered, glancing at Victor, desperate for support. Victor's face twisted between anguish and fury. You have to, Mom. We can't let her win. She's just playing with us. The boy's grip on Victor tightened, his small voice barely a whisper. I don't understand what's going on. Why are you scared, Mom? Tears threatened to spill as she gazed into her son's eyes, filled with innocence and confusion. She wanted to scream, to shield him from the mounting horror, yet every moment she hesitated felt like sealing their fate. Cassandra stepped forward, prodding. Time's running out. You can save them, but only if you choose truth over lies. Share the secret or watch them drown in your silence. The unmistakable sound of the diner door slamming open drew every gaze, including Cassandra's. A tall figure, a cop with a stern expression, stepped inside, scanning the room. Relief mixed with dread as the mother glimpsed hope in his presence. He could make everything right. Or could he? Hello? The cop called, his voice sharp and authoritative. What seems to be the problem here? Cassandra's smile widened like a snake ready to strike. Oh, officer, we're having a family gathering. But isn't it fascinating how one little secret can turn a lovely meal into a disaster? The tension in the room thickened, the air turning stale and oppressive as the cop approached. He eyed the envelope in her hand. "Ma'am, what's inside that? You look like you've seen a ghost." Chilled by his words, she clutched the letter tighter. "Nothing, it's nothing." The instinct for self-preservation flared, warning her to shield her family from the encroaching truth. But even as she uttered the lie, she felt the poison it contained seep into her being. Cassandra's laughter echoed like a haunted melody. "Nothing? How quaint. But isn't that what we tell ourselves to maintain a facade? You don't really believe that, do you?" The cop raised an eyebrow, feeling the pulse of discord, but he needed answers. "I need to know what's going on. You're safe here. Just tell me what's troubling you." A vortex of emotions churned within her, the swirling chaos threatening to pull her under. If she spoke, she feared the fabric of their lives would unravel before her. But if she stayed silent, could she protect them from what she had hidden? The weight of the room shifted ominously, the onlookers leaning in, their anticipation palpable. The waitress finally dropped the coffee pot, shattering against the floor, creating a kaleidoscope of chaos. "Maybe," she began, voice quivering, "if I reveal the truth, it could change everything." But with each step she took toward that precipice, the shadows around them deepened. Had she walked too close to the edge? Would it set them free? Or would the buried betrayals rise up and drag them all into a nightmare? Suddenly, another siren blared outside, a blood-curdling reminder of the clock ticking down to 0. Was this the moment to shatter the silence or the last chance to bury it once more? "Mom!" the boy cried, his voice cutting through the clamor. "You can't leave us in the dark." And as she stood at the nexus of fear and defiance, she felt the world tipping, teetering all too close to the brink. Would she embrace the darkness that had loomed for years, or fight to keep it where it belonged? In that charged silence, she clutched the letter tighter, glancing again at Victor and the boy. What if she murmured, only to be cut off as Cassandra flashed a triumphant grin? "Dear," she hissed, "you're already in too deep. The truth has a way of embedding itself in the heart." Was she willing to crack open that heart even if it meant losing everything? Would she risk it all for the chance to finally be free? The impending choice loomed larger than ever. The air was thick with unspoken words and tremors of angst. As the cop stepped closer, the question echoed in her mind and heart. What was she prepared to sacrifice for the truth? The cop stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as the tension thickened. "Ma'am, I need you to calm down." He reached out, his voice softening slightly. "You're safe. Whatever's going on, you can tell me." But the weight of the moment bore down on her like a session of relentless waves, crashing over her resolve. The suffocating silence pressed heavy against her chest, rendering her breath fleeting. She felt as if the diner itself had faded away, leaving just the three of them in a bubble of impending doom, watching a familiar nightmare play out. Cassandra's presence was a black hole, sucking the light out of the room. "You know, officer, sometimes people hide terrible things to protect those they love." She spoke, her tone dripping with a mockery that curled inside the mother's gut. "Wouldn't you agree? But secrets always have a way of spilling out, don't they?" The cop looked back at her, uncertainty flickering in his eyes before returning to the mother with fierce intensity. "Ma'am, I really need you to speak up, for your safety and for your family's. Please, just trust me," she finally uttered, the plea clawing at her throat, a desperate grasp at control in a spiraling world. "I can't say anything here." Cassandra leaned forward, her grin stretching wide, revealing malice beneath. "But right now, this is your stage. The audience is captivated. You could seize this moment." The delight in her voice dripped with venom. "We all want to know what's hidden behind that facade of yours." "Shut up," Victor barked, frustration spilling over. "You're just trying to manipulate her." Anger knotted in his jaw as he looked at his mother. "We can't let her win." "Don't fold, Mom." The waitress, having wrestled her shattered composure back, slipped back behind the counter, casting nervous glances but refusing to intrude, as if the unfolding drama was both horrifying and mesmerizing. The sirens outside grew louder, echoing through the diner, as if drawing closer to an inevitable conclusion. The boy whimpered, his small hand trembling against Victor's arm. Mom, please. A pulse of something primal surged inside her, a mix of fear and defiance. If I do this, she hesitated, letting the unthinkable hover in the air. If I speak, I need to know you'll support me. All of you. Her voice wavered, yet the gravity of the moment seemed to hold the diner's breath captive. The eyes of the patrons were like piercing blades, sharp and expectant. They yearned for truth yet reeked of judgment, ready to slice at the seams of her sanity. What if I told you, she finally murmured, that the secret is about your father? The words slipped from her lips with a bitter taste, falling like lead weights into the charged atmosphere. Gasps rippled through the diner. She could feel the collective intake of breath as Cassandra's eyes glittered with an unholy glee. The plot thickens. Please, don't stop now. Conflicted emotions surged in the pit of her stomach. She saw Victor's face harden, disbelief flashing across his features. The boy's eyes widened in confusion, unable to grasp the full weight of what was happening. Just let it out, dear, Cassandra crooned, her voice laced with sugar-coated menace. The truth is always worth it, especially now. The cop's jaw tightened, his trained instincts sensing the shifting tide. You need to. I was a different person back then, she blurted, choking on the memories that threatened to drown her. I made choices, ones that haunt me still. Choking sobs escaped her as she saw the horror ripple through her children's faces. Your father is connected to this much more than you realize. If I don't tell you, then you'll never know. The diner fell into an oppressive silence. Every gaze locked on her as she stood on the precipice of revelation. The world outside blurred, the sirens no longer distant but now bell tolls, urging her to finally step forward. What am I about to unleash? The question hung suspended in the air like a pendulum. And just as she gathered the strength to speak, a sudden crash against the back door sent shockwaves of panic swirling through the diner. Mom! The boy cried, losing grip on Victor's hand, his fear palpable. The weight of the truth teetered at the edge of her lips, but now they were faced with an incursion she never expected. As adrenaline pumped through her veins, she asked herself, was this the moment to finally reveal everything or a desperate distraction from a fate worse than silence? As the door began to buckle, she knew something was about to change forever, and the outcome was as uncertain as the secrets she held. Would she unleash the truth, or would their world collapse under the weight of it all in that split second? With a resounding bang, the back door of the diner buckled under the pressure, rattling violently in its frame. The patrons erupted into chaos, chairs scraping, plates clattering, hearts racing as fear cut through the air like a sharp blade. The mother's heart hammered against her ribcage, the confrontation bearing down on her like a tidal wave pulling her under. This was it. Victor, get the boy out of here, she shouted, urgency coursing through her veins as adrenaline took over. He nodded, eyes wide but focused, ready to protect his younger brother. But she could see the hesitation dance across his face. Fear mingled with obligation. No, we can't leave you, he pleaded, defiance flaring in his voice. But the undeniable truth loomed large. She couldn't let him shoulder this burden alone. Just trust me, she insisted, her voice harsh yet laden with desperation. A part of her knew that the weight of the truth she held could either be a lifeline or a wrecking ball, and now was the moment everything collided. The truth was bound to slip out, regardless of her choices. She could feel the very fabric of fate fraying at the seams. Cassandra, reveling in the rising tension, grinned like a cat about to pounce. If they break in, let us see how brave you are, dear. Faced with the truth, you may find your family's fate hanging by a thread. The words stung. The mother could see echoes of her own guilt reflected in everyone's eyes. She glanced at the letter she had clutched like talisman her past, disintegrating like dust. It can't end this way, she murmured, steeling herself. Stepping forward, each word fell free like stones dropped into still water, rippling through the atmosphere. Your father's past is tangled in a web of lies. Lies that have hurt us all for far too long. Silence enveloped the room, a suspended moment where time ceased to exist. Only the trembling uncertainty crackling in the air remained. Mom? The boy asked again, his small voice trembling as he clutched Victor's arm, confusion coursing through him as thick as the din of panic. There's something you deserve to know, that I've hidden for ages. She looked at Victor, letting her resolve shine through the turmoil. Your father is connected to Cassandra and her followers. He was part of a society that did terrible things. She braced herself for their reaction. Victor's shocking expression rippled through his features. The boy's eyes widened, innocence shattering into fragments. The mother felt a wave of nausea wash over her, knowing that the truth could be both salvation and destruction. Interesting theory, but are you ready to face all that comes with it? Cassandra taunted, urging them along with a wicked smile. Will you cast shadows on your father's reflection? Suddenly, the door burst open in a flurry of uniformed figures, a flurry of hushed gasps following in their wake. The police stormed in, urgency radiating from their presence, weapons drawn, eyes scanning for threats. It was as if salvation had collided with opportunity, and time itself began to shift again. Everyone remain calm, barked the lead officer, his eyes locking onto the chaos unfolding before him. What's happening here? In that layered moment, time felt both slow and rushed. The mother's heart raced, her voice thundering within. I have to tell the truth. They need to know. Mom, don't. Victor insisted, eyes desperate. Yet she could see the flicker of understanding spark within him. He felt it too. They were at a precipice whose outcome hinged on an unfathomable truth. Find justice here and now, she choked out, before it all crushes us. Then speak, Cassandra urged with mock enthusiasm, her expression unchanged, her lacerating presence remaining as potent as ever. Or watch your family dissolve before your eyes. With a shaking breath, the mother began to unravel the truth. Your father, he was involved in schemes that hurt families, mine included. He left us to hide within the chaos of his life, and now he's running from those choices. Her breath trembled as the weight of her confession filled the room. The officer stepped forward. Are you in danger? Is your family threatened? Not just my family, she choked, searching their eyes, all of them feeling the storm rising. But every family that's been affected by this history, let us get her out of here. Victor shouted, the protective instinct flaring. But the stark reality remained. What if that history came crashing back around them soon? I can face it, the mother whispered resolutely, staring into the eyes of all those around her. But not without the truth laid bare. As more officers flooded into the diner, Cassandra's composure cracked for just a breath, a fleeting glimpse of the darkness that lurked in her own history. Now we're running out of time. The sinister glee faded from her expression, fear gripping her where arrogance once ruled, the power dynamic shifting like a whisper on the wind. But I can still save you, Victor. You don't have to face this all alone. Yet the mask of authority fell flat. Truth poured out like water from a dam as the realization washed over the crowd what had been hidden. I won't be part of this anymore. Victor's voice rang clear. The conviction in it echoed through the chamber of unease. This is about carving a new path, breaking free of the wreckage. In that moment, they rose together, standing firm against the tide. The diner became something more than just an establishment filled with strangers. It transformed into a beacon for change, a tumultuous war against silence and darkness. We will face it, she declared, taking the final step beyond the precipice, cementing their resolve. Together, we'll confront the family's secrets, and together, we'll dismantle this web. And as they stood united, the air lightened, burgeoning with hope. The shadows began to recede, revealing pathways unseen, filled with possibilities. They would confront whatever lay ahead together. They could rewrite their story. Now, with clarity, the future unfurled before them, a reimagined horizon that could withstand the storm, fanned by the flames of truth. And the strength of that moment surged, igniting their hearts as they faced the unknown. So, dear friends, here's the finale of this wild ride. And it's time to wrap things up properly. You need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss out on even one exclusive story that's coming up next. Smash that like button right now. Seriously, please feed the algorithm to keep us going. and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear every single thought you have. You must instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Thank you for being a part of this journey.